Good morning. The program is Stolen Property. I'm the Spirit Man, and I'll be with you into the top of the noon hour. Going to put power into 1 hour as we move to rock your radio, to rock your mind, as we move down to your roots to shake you and wake you. That maybe that you can be among those raising up the deaf, the dumb, the blind, and the ignorant here in Baltimore City, Pet Cemetery 2, the city of the living dead. The deaf, the dumb, the blind, and the ignorant into themselves and to their kind. Trying to raise them up, trying to get you to open your mind up, trying to get you to think, for it is not illegal yet. Sitting on the sidelines, watching and observing as our people struggle and strive just to stay alive, just to make it another day, just to make it another week, make it another moment. So it's up to you and me to bring those things about. So we're going to bring down this music that we can get this program started. We can get this program on the move. So I thank you once again for listening. I had a feedback. We're trying to trace that feedback and where that feedback was coming from. So we wish to find out where you coming from this morning. So what we're going to get into this morning is interesting story. Baltimore Sun, Thursday, November the 17th. Obama says East Asia now military focus, exiting 2 wars and looking towards China. U.S. vows Marines in Australia trade deals. Australia, President Obama on Thursday sought to reassure Asian allies about China's growing political and economic clout, announcing a strategic shift to restart America's role as the dominant military power in the Pacific, as it pulls back from the post-September 11 wars. Speaking to the Australian capital, Obama pledged to support more U.S. troops, joint training operations and military exercises in the Asian Pacific region as the U.S. draws down in Iraq and Afghanistan. After a decade in which we fought 2 wars that cost us dearly in blood and in treasure, the United States is turning its attention to the vast potential of the Asian Pacific, Obama said in an address Thursday to the Australian Parliament. While initial steps to broaden America's security umbrella appears more symbolic than dramatic, Obama's message marked a clear change after Washington's focus on terrorism over the last decade. Many governments in Asia consider Islamic extremism as secondary to broader economic challenges and the growing assertiveness of China. Midway through a 9-day trip to Hawaii, Australia, Indonesia, Obama is seeking to strengthen military and trade alliances to lock America, partners, and rivals, including China, into relationships to ease potential sources of conflict. He took care to note that cuts in U.S. defense spending will not, I repeat, will not come at the expense of the Asian Pacific. The United States does not fear China's rise, Obama told a news conference that day with Prime Minister Gilliard. But he warned that Chinese leaders must play by the rules of the road. Chinese officials indirectly criticized Obama's message A Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman in Beijing questioned whether strengthening and expanding a military alliance is in the interest of the region or the international community. At a time of global economic turmoil, Obama's decision comes after several decades in which the U.S. has closed bases and withdrew from the region. The immediate moves will be modest, however. They include stationing up to 2,500 Marines at an Australian military base in what officials called the first constant U.S. troop presence in the on the southern continent since the Vietnam War. The first 250 Marines will arrive next year. Now, this is interesting now, is that what's happening in Australia is that China has an abundance of wealth. It is a manufacturing, it is a producing country. When it comes to trade, they don't trade too well or trade too fair in the mind of America. They're not opening their markets up. They're keeping their markets closed. They're trying to export as much as they can. And you know that everything you just about buy, electronics or whatever, is made in China. And what they're going to do is that they're going to establish themselves some bases. They're going to establish themselves some outposts. They're going to send some ships in the Asian Pacific waters to possibly do a blockade to cut off some of the trade. And just as these things happen on an international level, they happen on a national, and they also operate on a local level also. Because peoples in this country, ethnic groups in this country, everyone works, thinks, operates, lives, breathes in the sense of nationhood. Just as the Asians operate in the international arena, they operate on the local level the same way. That's why they have such dominance within the communities in which we and you reside. When we try to open a business up, selling the type of products that they sell, run into some roadblocks. You can't even open up a business in your own neighborhood and the own community where you reside with them not coming forth to stop you and to block you. Cornering the market in your neighborhood, just like they cornering the market on the global scale when it comes to trade. Heavy output, but a low input. Basically, they get the necessities, the things that they need, that they will import into their country. And they're flooding the European markets with their goods and with their wares. That's what the people are supposed to do. That's business. And America's not happy because the Asians own the debt, the financial debt of this country. And they might be afraid that they may call that note in. So we see that right now that in this Obama administration, it's either by force or by choice, as they have expanded these wars in Uganda and Somalia and Afghanistan. And they ain't out of Afghanistan. They're not coming up out of Iraq. They still going to be there. And America has become a pestilence upon the world, a vulture, just feeding off of the weak, off of those who can't defend themselves. We can't bring up the name of Dr. Martin Luther King and talk about Dr. King and during the time that he was living in the last days and the last stages of his life. He talked about this kind of situation. He talked about this kind of moment when the resources of this country was moving out of this country into military endeavors, draining the resources, overtaxing the people as the people try to survive with less. What's the difference between the 1960s, 66, 67, 68 to what's happening now? This time that we're living in today, isn't it what Dr. King talked about? He wasn't dreaming. He woke up to the reality of militarism, racism, fascism, and all other kind of isms. And the issues that we need to be addressing here in Baltimore City is what Dr. King talked about, the disparities that is taking place in this society. The gap is widening day by day by day. The haves and the have-nots. They don't want the have-nots to have any more. Because you're going to have to take a look at some of the things that are going on and some of the things that are taking place, particularly with this debt commission that they have put together. And let me do this real quick. Then can get to open these lines up that you can say what's on your mind. This is the Washington Times, Friday, November the 18th. The opinion page, that's B2. Just going to just take my time this morning and see what's what. Trimming the welfare state. Proposals would streamline wasteful, duplicative bureaucracy. 77 different federal programs simultaneously attempts to address the needs of the poor. The cost of the programs is climbing faster than Social Security, Medicaid, and defense. The welfare issue hasn't been touched in over 15 years. So it is past time to streamline this overlapping and wasteful mess. On Thursday, Senator Jim DeMint introduced the Welfare Reform Act, hoping to instill some fiscal responsibility. The South Carolina Republican told reporters that as we focus on our welfare system, we have to accept the fact that we have not solved the problem, that we have discouraged self-sufficiency. We have more people in poverty now than we did 10 years ago, according to Mr. DeMint. Federal spending on all welfare programs, which includes Medicaid, a children's health insurance program, temporary assistance to needy families, Head Start, and food stamps cost taxpayers over $700 billion in 2011. Senator David, I have my glasses on, Vitter, Louisiana Republican, explained, "We have significant and meaningful welfare reform in 1995. That was under Bill Clinton. Welfare reform, it was farewell Negroes. But it was one program, only one of 77, and we are due for another installment of positive welfare reform, particularly in the midst of this debt crisis. The Senate legislation would cap spending on these programs at the pre-stimulus level index for inflation, which the Heritage Foundation estimates would save $2.4 trillion over 10 years. Federal welfare funds would start to be block granted to states that reduce poverty and increase self-sufficiency. The president would be required to disclose in his annual budget the total cost of the 77 programs. The Department of Agriculture would be forced to stop allowing food stamps to be used at fast food restaurants. In April, Representative Jim Jordan, Ohio Republican, introduced this welfare reform legislation in the House, where it awaits consideration. Republican presidential candidates have also taken up the cause. In a debate in Texas earlier this month, Newt Gingrich and Herman Cain each offered their own take. The former White House Speaker wants all programs tied to some requirement, saying if you are an able-bodied person and you are getting something for nothing, then we are pretty stupid for giving it to you. For example, he would tie federal unemployment benefits to work training programs. Both Mr. Gingrich and Mr. King want to block grant welfare funds to the states with the flexibility to modify the programs to meet the specific needs. Former Godfather Pizza CEO would change the unemployment process so that each time someone loses a job, he would get half the length of the benefits as the last time. You make it a diminishing benefit because that's going to make you work a little harder to get out there and try and find a job, he explained. There are a lot of excellent reform ideas on the table. Members of the Super Committee are struggling to agree on even the tiniest savings in the annual $3.6 trillion budget. Meanwhile, we know there is no way 77 government programs with the same general purpose aren't filled with waste and duplication. These conservative plans would do more to empower people to rise out of poverty and dependency, and then the current bloated system of handouts. I mentioned previously that when this government initially made its announcement on its deficit commission, the Europeans made their announcement the same day, but they didn't broadcast to you on a regular kind of basis so that you would be able to hear some of the proposals that they were talking about. Now it seems that some within this United States government is echoing those same ideas. They wish to receive any kind of social services, any kind of social assistance, any kind of economic assistance, any kind of medical assistance, any kind of assistance, period. It's going to be tied. It's going to come with strings attached. You're going to have to work, they say. Who's going to clean the parks? Who's going to clean the streets? Who's going to do the trash? Who's going to do the landscaping? Who's going to do the general services of the local government or the state government? They saying that if you don't work, you won't eat, you won't breathe, you won't live. The question is that they are debating at this time in Congress of how you're going to bleed and how they're going to bleed you. The Democrats said we're going to be surgical. The Republican says that we just going to just whack you with a dull axe. But it doesn't matter who does it. You're still going to bleed. And you're bleeding now. And here in this city, the disparities, because there was an article that came out. And you must take a look at this. Because it's, I'm going to call it unexpected consequences. Now here we go. We're talking about the Baltimore Sun. Tuesday, November the 15th, front page. Your health can depend on where you live, study says. Families see improvements after moving to better neighborhoods. This article is talking about a sister, Sabrina Oliver. She revisits her old neighborhood of Everson Village, where she suffered from depression and her daughter from asthma. But since moving away from the neighborhood, seems that the family health has improved. We have environmental problems where we live. We live under some hazardous environmental conditions that was created by the federal, the state, and the local government. Can prove that. And go through numerous books and numerous studies to show that when she moved from out of Baltimore City into a county area, her children health improved, the asthma subsided, her depression went away. But these are the conditions, these are the environments that we come up in. Every day we see them. They're not being addressed because our people are under stress and under duress. And the issue comes down to services. They're cutting off services for you. They're cutting off services for your children. I don't know what it takes to qualify for those children out there that's in need. What does it take to qualify for services these days? Children that's handicapped, children that's disabled, children that's challenged. Money just went back to the government because it wasn't used with all the children that we know that need services. And when are you going to get the services for your children for lead poisoning? For the rats, for the urine, for the feces, for the mold, for all those things that we know. We know what a lot of these issues are. But we're failing to act upon them. All we doing is just fighting with each other. I listened to the radio this week, and it was very disturbing what I heard. There's no reason for us to be able to conduct ourselves that way. We are just contributors to the problems that we say that other folks are part of. We are contributors towards that. We wonder why our people confused. Maybe we are. This tool, this radio, this microphone is a powerful tool that can shape people's minds. It can change people's lives. And we must approach this with integrity, with dignity, with respect, with the purpose of uplifting ourselves and uplifting the people. That's what our responsibility is when we come before these microphones. That's what it should be. And if you can't say nothing good about a person, don't say nothing at all. Because right now, at some point, we have to be able to get on the same page on these issues. We have a lot of issues. We wouldn't be dealing with the issue of police brutality. I saw it last night. Had two brothers handcuffed, pants down, sitting on a cold sidewalk. Just humiliating. It's not necessary. We could have put a hamper or a damper on this police brutality if Patricia Jasmine would have prosecuted those police officers that was on that no-call list. And every last one of those officers, all of their cases should have been reviewed. I pushed that issue, and I pushed it hard. Every opportunity I got to be able to talk to her on whatever station she was on. Passed the buck back to the commissioner. When Bernstein came into office, what did he do? Took that list and threw it in the trash. And nobody's still asking about the no-call list. With all these incidents and shootings and killings and beatings that have taken place, how many of them officers that was involved in those things were possibly on that no-call list that cannot testify in a court of law? The prosecutor's office couldn't use them. They falsified themselves in their paperwork or in their testimony. If we go to court and we perjure ourselves, we don't get on no damn no-call list. We go straight to central booking. That's why when I was at that demonstration that they had one time down at the courthouse, I approached Greg Bernstein, the state's attorney, and I asked him about that no-call list. It was important that we asked about that no-call list. It was important that we called for the prosecution of those officers on that no-call list. It's imperative that we still ask that those officers on that no-call list, that their cases, those arrests that they made, be reviewed. They should not stand. That's why that list went in the trash. Would have shook this police department up. Shook the crooks up. The shakedown artists, the drug dealers. Those that's howling at the holes. So I'm going to shut my mouth up because there's so many other things to talk about this morning. About me and you, what we going to do, or we just going to play. I'm the baddest, I'm the best. Forget about the rest. Sometimes when we come before these microphones, no matter what station, no matter what venue, we can't be like TV. It has no dignity at all. At one time in your life, at a certain period of time, you heard. Now it's 24/7, 100,000 channels to watch just to keep you busy and distracted, opposed to changing the conditions that you have. The election is over with. You saw what the results were. Why are you going to turn around and do it again? You see what the game is. So I think we need to change our play and change what we say and how we say what we say and make some things work for us. We have to try something different because we're doing the same thing and getting the same results. Nothing. Nothing but some more. And then we got some, have a little, want some more Negroes out there. You know what I mean, because I just got to be seen. Got all these cases that's been sitting and waiting for the longest period of time. Just they sitting on them, just holding them. The case of Timothy Ferguson, the young student counselor that was, y'all saw it on YouTube, that was electrifying situation where the police officer was tasering him. That case still sitting, with the case of Sharim coming up February the 1st. I ain't heard nothing from no C.D. Witherspoon, even though they've been having these meetings of this black-Jewish relations. They don't want it to spread out. They want to try to contain it. Because when we go into this whole issue of black-Jewish relations, it don't look too well. It don't fare too well. It's not one based upon reciprocity, but it's one a sort of master-slave relationship. Subordinate. That's the history, going back to the organizations that they created, or was a part of, the SCLC, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Certain People, because the organization was founded by white people. Black folks came on afterboard from the Niagara movement, and when they were having those first or second meetings, the white folks were just surprised at how crazy the Negroes was acting, fighting with each other. Then you had the chairman of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Certain People, Joe Spengard, who worked for military intelligence and spied on the organization that he was a chairman of, him and Du Bois and some others, Robert Rester Moton. And we can go down the whole list. And when we look at that list, we find Sigma Pi Phi, the Boule. During that period of time, and coming into the time of World War I, was that racist, number one racist on the planet, who used to live here in Baltimore, down in Bolton Hill, Woodrow Wilson. When he came into office, he cleared all them Uji, Bushy, aristocrats of color, just rolling them up out of the government, cleaning house. And I'm not getting into that discussion this morning of the relationship or whatever folks call it. Y'all call it the blues. We call it just bad news. So the phone number is 410-761-1592. 761-1592. You can call into this program and say what's on your mind that makes some sense. Let's come up with some solutions of how we can work together and how we can be able to accomplish some things. Maybe we can just choose just one issue that we all can stand with each other. Until the battle is won, so we can be a shining example to our children, to our people, that they can see that things can happen, that things can get done when we work with each other, when we get past the personalities, as we get past these other superficial things that really don't mean anything at all when it comes down to where we are in this juncture in history. So it's our choice of what we want to do to charter a course, charter a direction for ourselves. Is that what we want to do? Or we wish to be dictated to? Or you wish to have folks just put stuff in your neighborhood or your community or where you live? That's up to you. The phone number is 410-761-1592. Just waiting for you to call in and, hey, say a little something, or something, so waiting for you to call in and see what we can get into this morning. Okay? The phone number is 410-761-1592. I'm the Spirit Man, waiting for you to call in this program this morning to express what's on your mind. Just cooling out this morning, not getting into too much, saving it for next week and try to heat it up as much as possible. So, someone on the line, so I'm going to try to take this call. Good morning.
Yes, Negative Morning, Spirit Man.
Negative, Mama Risha.
And I'll just say morning, because I'm wondering if it's ever good for us, except that we are awakening and have to continue to struggle. But I heard you say that about us fighting among ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I stay in trouble for fighting the white male master syndrome.
Maybe.
That instead of fighting among ourselves, because I make it plain, God loves us, black people, and I'm trying.
Yes, ma'am. You still doing them holy hugs and holy kisses.
That's right. And ever since I got fired and everybody on my side for holy kissing instead of ass kissing, and then recently I got banned on OLB for talking about the white males and all their perversions. I don't know exactly why I'm banned, because that information hasn't been given to me yet. But I know one sure thing, I wasn't engaging in black bashing. And like you say, we've been trained to we're black cats, trained to be like white dogs. So now we bow wow, and we're supposed to meow. So we have been trained to just take all this hatred and frustration in among ourselves and self-destruct, and then and evolve, which means revolve when you put both of those together, back up to our high holy worth. Because we can't continue to just take it out on ourselves, which is bad, and then if we give it out, at least we fighting back. When we take, like you say, master-slave relationship, well, it's time for us to return ourselves to our pre-slavery condition, and we still have that in us.
Yes, ma'am, so I appreciate it, Mama Risha.
And I appreciate what you were saying that inspired me to call, because we're going to have to make a decision in this crossroads of life as to whether we're going to continue to express all this hatred out on each other and therefore deprive ourselves of our innate love, or whether we're going to thrust this love, boomerang it back on the source of our destruction.
Yes, ma'am.
So you will continue your program and your sojourn, and all together, somehow each one of us contributes, we'll bring our broken parts of ourselves back together into a whole.
Yes, ma'am.
Take care, two-time Nana. I love you.
Love you too, Mama Risha.
All right.
Well, if we don't get it together, we ain't going to be around. That's just clear. You're just not going to be around. The writing is on the wall. That I said before, no one is coming to save you. Ain't nothing, no pie in the sky and a sweet by and by, and you get yours when you die. You better get yourself something sound on the ground while you're still around, and you better get your mind back. Better get your control over your total being. We're like leaves in the wind. Whenever the wind blows, we move. That's not a good existence. That's not a way to live. Have no economic foundation. Have no system in place to educate your children. We say we're about revolution, but when you examine closely, a lot of what we espouse, it ain't revolutionary at all. It's reformism. Trying to make something work that doesn't work. Then we do this transgenerational passing on of these things that mean us no good. Next week we're going to be eating turkey and pumpkin pie and punking out and celebrating the decimation and the destruction of the indigenous people and the enslavement of themselves. That is the height of craziness. That is the height of mental disorder among our people. We just crazy. But you ain't crazy enough to drive Miss Daisy. Drive Miss Daisy crazy. Drive Miss Daisy in the ditch to Miss Daisy have a heart attack. Good morning, you on the air.
Yes, how you doing today?
Yes, sir.
Yes, my plan is a spirit plan. We need to renew the spirit because the spirit right now is thirsty. It's faltering. It's in need. We don't have individualism helps to grow our spirit. We have followerism, which is deadening our spirit. So I think, getting back to our spirit, who you are, what you're about, and what can you actually do in this world. I think that'll start to get us back on the right path.
Yes, sir.
Build spirit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, let me do something real quick. Hope I can remember it. The boys. The souls of black folks. After the Egyptian, the Greek, after the Egyptian, the Indian, the Teuton and the Mongolian, the Negro is a sort of seventh son, born with a veil and gifted with second sight in this American world, a world which yields him no true self-consciousness, but only lets him see himself through the revelation or through the eyes of others. It is a peculiar sensation, this two-ness. Two thoughts, two warring ideals in one dog body who dug it strength alone that keeps it from being torn asunder. It's a struggle with this dualness, with this schizophrenia, with this double-mindedness, this split personality, this two-ness. That's warring with each other, and they just cannot reconcile themselves of being a Negro and being a American without being spat upon by your fellow man. We're crazy. You can't make a change in your life if you can't make a separation from that which is killing you and that which is destroying you. We finance our own oppression and we love it. You're going to celebrate Misgivings Day. Folks are just ripping you off, taking your homes. They're filing foreclosures with a frenzy right now. It's about freeing the land here and abroad, here and at home. Because I know one of the brothers that was head of the youth division of the African National Congress. They gave him the boot. They kicked him out because he was talking about nationalizing the diamond mines and nationalizing the gold mines and nationalizing the things that belong to them. Mandela was a sham. He was just a sellout. And you got sellout leadership in this country, and you just love it. No way you could be in jail for 27 years and come out to be president. You crazy? Got to be crazy. Then paid off the debt, or obligated to pick up the debt of the white supremacist government before this election that took place to put Nelson Mandela into office. If there's going to be a change, and there's going to be a revolution, you can't pick up the old debt. You have to look anew. And nothing changed in South Africa. Nothing changed at all. It just got worse for black folks, especially when the Negroes from this country went over there with that so-called transitional government. There's no way that you could have with Mel Footy at the time, back when the so-called, it was the Free South Africa movement, then all of a sudden you saw the church change from Free South Africa to Free Mandela. It went from the people to a person. You got bamboozled and you got hoodwinked. Now you have blind leadership in South Africa. You have blind leadership here in this country. We're like leaves in the wind. We just won't hear to the call. That's all. We don't raise no question. How can it be the person who would be the number one person that would take and march and protest any black cause he could find in the country? Now he's telling people that the president can't speak to black issues, just black folks' issues. All he used to do is how he made his living, flying and lying all over the place. Gina 6. Somebody in Alabama had that baby bottle stolen. Show up down there too. So I'm up here just talking crazy this morning. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I had no intent on coming on this morning to be able to do anything serious. In the regrouping phase. Got myself a laptop here. Hopefully the next time I'll be able to come on this program, you'll be able to pick this up on Blog Talk Radio. Looking to do that. And to be able to do some other kind of things to scan, to expand the capabilities of this broadcast. I'm not the one that wait for folks. You know, it's make it happen. It's take the initiative. It's let's roll and let's go. And we're going to have to make our minds up that we're going to have to roll and let's go and have to get ourselves out of this so-called American mind. Yeah, we Africans, we black, we cultural on the weekend. Isn't that right? So, going to close this program out this morning. So, the program is Stolen Property. I am Brother Donald, the Spirit Man. I'll see you next week at the same time, the same station. So, want you to, when you wake up in the morning, want you, as you go to lock your Glock, as you look at your clock, as you go to turn on your radio to tune into this program. Every Saturday morning from 11 to 12 noon here on 1590 AM. If you wish to, contribute to this program, you can. Let me give you a number to call. The number is 443-564-7566. 443-564-9797. That's 443-564-7593. I wasn't going to ask you across the lines because all you can do is call up here and lie to me. You know, so peace. See you next week.
You never want to waste it, girl. The thrill of it, taste it, girl.